Yo, yo, yo. Hello and welcome back to the Lenko Show. This is episode number 122. Today, we are going to be talking about functional fitness. And whilst we're on the topic of functional fitness, go over to dryrobe.com, get yourself a dry robe. Do it now. Now, the reason we are recording this episode is because a couple of weeks back we talked about the way that our training had changed over the years, things that we wish we'd done differently. And now we're going to kind of get onto a little bit more as to how the fitness industry itself has changed, the way that gyms have developed, and the way that people now view training. And we start seeing loads of different funky things going on, especially on social media, where people are not just doing funky things because it's useful, but doing the funky things because it gets views, gets clicks, gets likes, gets shares, and boosts their profile, despite it being more often than not incredibly useless or even bad information. So we are going to get our teeth into that today. Chris, welcome to the show, bro. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful, thank you. And funnily enough, on the topic of functional and following the trends and things like that, have you seen what has gone on in the fitness industry this week regarding two names that you might not necessarily know, but people younger than you might? No, I'm only kidding. Some people who are big on social media in the fitness industry may understand there's a guy called Jeff Nippard, and he is a science-based trainer. So he follows methodologies and principles, and these are things that have obviously stood the test of time. Like, I won't go too far into what happened just yet, but he is a science-based trainer and follows scientific approaches, mainly bodybuilding,
Can I can
and
I
he
just can I just ask, like, what does that mean? He's a science-based trainer.
so
Can we
hear
be
me.
specific about this? Because
So this is what's happened, right? There is another guy on the Instagrams who is a fitness influencer called Big Mike Van Wyck, who is not, in theory, a science-based trainer, which we'll explain in a minute. He's this big, fatted, bald guy who is also a bodybuilder. And he basically released a video saying that there are science-based scammers out there. So you're on the right path of what exactly does it mean, Alex? Well, he put a video out there saying about science-based scammers because that's what Jeff Nippard claims to be. Obviously not a scammer. Jeff Nippard replied by saying the truth is what the truth is, regardless of who it comes from. And he says something's right or it's wrong, regardless of whether someone follows the science or not. There's right and there's wrong, or there's truth or there's falsehoods. And this guy basically, there's a video of him that's emerged squaring up to Jeff. Bear in mind, Jeff Nippard is 5'5", and this guy's like 6'2", 6'3", and he basically throat slices him with his hand twice. Yeah, it's pretty serious. So they think he's going to get done for assault because well, it is assault. But yeah, what questions do you have? What are your thoughts there, Alex?
I need to find out more about this and find out more about what's going on. But what like when someone says they're a science-based trainer, what do they mean? Does that mean they literally read a journal, look at a training protocol that was used in that journal, and then that is their training program? Or is
Yes.
it, yeah,
He follows research and studies and science. So this guy, by the way, he's knocking boots with Lane Norton and Mike Israel from RP. He's got loads of videos with him. Like he's an influencer. He's not an athlete. He's an influencer, but he is up there with some of the smartest people in the game. Like he's following them and he's doing what they're saying.
yeah, no, I get that, but it's like, well, to a degree, like we're all science-based trainers. Like we've all, like I don't think there's anybody that would look at the research and goes, right, for strength training, you need low reps, high intensity, and then gradually build the volume, gradually increase the total weight used and build your strength that way versus so like someone saying, right, well, I'm going to try and build strength by doing, like 20% of my 1 RM, but I'm going to do like a million reps. Like nobody looks at it that way. Like everybody is science based, but my big problem with science based is that there is a point where you have to be, I think the best coaches are innovative and will create their own kind of nuances and methodologies. I think there's a point where that kicks in, and I don't know, it bugs me when people go, "Oh, I just do science-based programming." All right, fucking nerd. Like we all read, like I read books. Shut up.
So this is it. So one of the things that I agree with, so Jeff does claim to be science-based, and it's because he puts studies in the things that he produces and explains why he's doing stuff, etc., which doesn't make him any more science-based than anyone else. It just means he puts the science in front of you to see. But there's the whole thing with it. Like, why is it resulted in an assault? Why,
You
why
know,
would you?
I'm just reading with regards to you can go on the Big Mike Van Wyck's Instagram.
You
You
can
spell
comment.
Van Wyck W Van VAN, and then the Wick is WYCK, and just the first comment that big and no brain. I wonder what's in his head then. The next one, oh, this is a guy that I know. You should be locked up in jail. You're an embarrassment to bodybuilders and a violent criminal. Your brain is cooked from all the steroid abuse. Someone else, your assault on Nippard proves he was right. Someone else says, is this the guy who roid raged and assaulted Jeff Nippard? Um, someone else said, you're cooked, buddy. Pack it up. Jeff Nippard is your daddy. I'm gonna have to have a little read a bit more of this.
So one of the main ones that I've seen is comments where people are saying Jeff Nippard is going to show you the science-based method to pressing, and then he says it's a joke about pressing charges or something like that.
I
Uh,
like that. That's quite clever.
yeah. I saw someone else commented back on a video. So this happened, I think, maybe a few days ago, maybe 4 or 5 days ago. And someone commented yesterday, one of the top comments on one of the videos says, wow, this guy sounds like a really, really stable, level-headed guy. I sure hope he doesn't do something crazy like assault someone over this.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Absolutely mad. Um, what's your take on the whole science-based processing then?
So I've followed Jeff for a while, so I understand why he claims to be science-based. It is just he does stuff with the studies and with the cases, but I agree with you, and I think even Mike Van Wyck will be science-based in the sense like he's not just making shit up as he go. Well, he might be making shit up, but it'll be based on something,
Yeah.
and that something will be based on the science. So I agree. Like I just think it's a little bit weird. It's not something that you would fight over. I think even things like one of the things that I touched on with the nutrition course recently, even things like not eating carbs after 6 p.m. Like there is a science behind that, and the science is that most people undereat during the day and then massively overeat on a shit when they get home and they're stressed and they're tired and overwhelmed from work. They just want to chill out and relax. Therefore, the science is if you don't eat shit after 6 p.m., you're going to eat way less calories, so you'll lose weight. Like
Yeah.
there's always some science in it, even if it is absolute fucking madness. So
Yeah.
I think regardless of what the real dispute was, like you'll only ever see what's on social media anyway. You don't go around slapping people half your side and fucking half your size. You don't slap them in the throat like that. Like,
I
especially not on camera.
I haven't seen the actual. What do you mean, especially not on camera? You wouldn't do it anyway, would you?
It's videoed. Oh right, no, I just
Yeah.
mean he did it on video. Like it's the guy was Jeff Nippard's cameraman was filming. Go figure.
Oh well. There's going to be some compo going somewhere there. Maybe a bit of jail time. But I mean, yeah, but I think my whole take with the science-based thing, like if you call yourself a science-based trainer, it's like you're trying to prove a point of that you're clever. Well, to be honest, like I don't care about that. I would just say, like, I'm a trainer, I'm a coach. If you want to work with me, you'll find out. You'll find out what we're about. You'll find out what we're up to.
Should we start claiming to be imaginary trainers?
How do we? What do you mean?
Imagination-based trainers. Because if you're not science-based, what are you?
Uh, yeah, that's. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know what you would be. You'd, yeah. What would you be basing your training on? Anyway, uh,
Tough on that.
we're talking functional training today. So, I mean, first off, how has training changed in the time that you've been a PT? How long have you been coaching for now? You were a little bit behind me, weren't you?
Yeah, I think this is my 10th year. How long have you been doing it?
Yeah, about probably about 12 years.
So yeah, I think this is my 10th year then. That sounds about right.
Anyway,
I can't remember
long
the
time.
year first.
So, how have you seen things change since you started?
Well, when I started, the bro split was all the rage, and now it's been turned into its own science. If you've heard of bro science, um, were you around then? Do you remember that?
I do, I do.
And that's what I guess I started doing when I first started going to the gym. So that was the first thing I recall. Then it's hard, isn't it? Because there's always the way I see it is there's the health and fitness industry is split into two halves. There's what most people see, which is the fitness industry, which is all about the way you look. Generally, that's what people get involved with. That they don't give a fuck about the health part of it, like for the most part. And I think the biggest development is in recent times, there's been much more of a, let's say, progression in doing the performance stuff, but I still don't necessarily, I've not seen a development in the health stuff. It's, yeah, performance and people are now getting fitter, but I don't think that they're getting healthier. I think by default, what they're doing could make them healthier if they, if I think a lot of people do the training for the mindset, right? And for the mentality and for what's going on up here, the cognition and the way that they talk and communicate to themselves. I don't really think that's developed. So we're just seeing it is just a case of new trend, new trend, new trend, new trend. People haven't really changed. Things around them have changed, but people are kind of the same. What I mean by that is when I first started, lots of people were bodybuilding and mainly. So most people were bodybuilding, and I think it was at least in the fitness industry, that side of it, and it was coming from a place of people were lonely, wanting to feel more confident, wanting to improve their self-esteem via body image. And oh, by the way, this is me too. I'm not condemning anyone. And most of those people either went one or two ways. They ended up with some kind of eating disorder or became total narcissists. Not all of them, most of them. But you had fitness people who were bodybuilders, and then health people who were nerds and they were seen as thinking they were better than other people. And then, but actually they were, I guess, more stable and more level-headed. Then came the craze of high intensity interval training. Don't know if you remember Insanity and stuff like that. People started getting stuck into that for fat loss. Then
You got
it
like all
progressed.
the Les Mills, the circuit classes, the pump
Yeah,
classes. Yeah, like let's
that
just
was the new thing.
let's just whack 2.5 kilos on a barbell and just pulse.
Yeah,
No
it
thanks.
was it was awful. Like watching that as a science-based trainer like myself, you know, it was awful watching people do terrible movements that were no good for them. Then people started to branch out, and you started to see very clearly what part of fitness people were involved in. So there was the fitness side of bodybuilding, and they were all jabbing, test or Diana ball or whatever, and doing specifically bodybuilding training, probably science-based bodybuilding training. And they were doing the bro splits. They were known as the bros. But I feel like this is like a history of the gym. Then there were the strongmen slash powerlifters who have their knee wraps, their elbow wraps, usually smell a little bit, big hoodie, weight belt, spend about 3 hours on one barbell doing whatever they're doing. Usually,
Light grey jogging bottoms and work boots.
yeah. And they usually, you'll know them when you see them. They've usually got an upside down head, as my dad calls them, which is boulder on the top and then beard at the bottom.
Yeah,
You got an upside down head. One of the same, usually some kind of tribal tattoo somewhere.
the gentle
Uh,
giant, the gentle giants.
Gentle giants, which by the way, most people that are in the gym, they are when you actually really talk to them. As long as you don't say something insulting or get in the way, like, and they're not like a few milligrams over, then they'll be all right with you.
Mm.
Then, so we had the bodybuilders, the strongmen, and the powerlifters, and then coming in, I'm going to paint the picture with their tie dye and their headbands and their usually sleeveless tops with bright colored shorts were the CrossFitters.
Short shorts as well.
Short shorts for the squatters. That was generally for the squat. That was just for people who had really good legs. It was like it's got to be short, tight shorts. Um, but yeah, colourful socks, long socks, maybe a snapback backwards, a vest because they've usually got some good shoulders and arms, short shorts, and the CrossFitters. And yeah, everyone niched into their own thing. But what you'd find is the powerlifters were sniffing salts and slapping each other on the back and shouting big, scary growls before sets. And you couldn't help but look at them and wonder, I wonder if that person's okay. The bodybuilders obviously were another planet completely, tanning, waxing all their hair off, dieting extremely, being in a calorie deficit for about 6 months of the year, being about 6% body fat, and then saying, I feel fluffy today. I just don't feel myself today. Which is a shame because obviously at that point, 6% body fat, you're just a lean animal. You're probably not going to feel yourself. You're probably just stripped down to your biological needs, and that's it. There's not really much of a person left in there. Um, and then the CrossFitters were just the people that were like, "Oh, I do harder workouts than you. My workout, I threw up yesterday. I trained harder than you." And everyone was just like an extreme. They were just an absolute extreme stereotype. That's kind of what happened, and people were sort of like finding their own identity in each of these. Some people went from one to the other, and I feel like nowadays it's developed into high rocks and all these other things, and yeah, performance training and stuff. But people are what people are, and they do what they do, and they've still just gone towards the extreme. And most people doing the performance stuff, not most, but a lot of people that have gone into the performance stuff have gone holistically into what that community generally represents. And, with the performance, they are training like they are top 1% elite athletes without doing the recovery of top 1% athletes. They are doing stuff that's ultimately going to eventually destroy them. And there's zero health in it whatsoever. And then you've got the final 10% of people who are actually involved in health in some way. And they'll be doing stuff that makes them more robust or prevents falls or damage from falls, strengthening joints and tendons rather than just doing bicep curls. Bicep curls doesn't help, but yeah. And I think it's changed in the sense that new trends have come and gone, but fundamentally the people within it haven't changed, and the reasons that people are training haven't really changed either, which I
Yeah.
guess
I
is what
think
you would.
I think there's very much a cult-like nature to fitness, whether it's like you say, it is quite tribal. Well, nutrition's the same as well, primarily. Um, Everyone will kind of have their go-to, and we've got our biases towards certain things. Like I remember when I was at university being very snobbish towards, no, I'm a strength and performance athlete and I'm going to do my science-based training and I'm not going to do CrossFit. I don't need to be walking on my hands. Um, And it was very rigid, very regimented. Just like I'm going to do my strength work, going to do my jumping, and I'm going to go out on the training field and play my sport. Like that's literally the way it is. And I was kind of, I don't know, I was probably a little bit looking down on everybody else who was just doing what I thought was just kind of random nonsense. Um, and I think like you said, within health and fitness, whatever it is, and there's a couple of underlying goals, like what, like you said, one at the forefront, which is now more and more prevalent, is that people are now working out more and more for the benefit of their own health. They're not quite tying in the lifestyle factor. That's kind of because I think most people accept that the lifestyle is shit, so they need to go to the gym to kind of counteract the effects of their lifestyle and try and elevate their health from that point of view. Whereas if you can kind of go, right, I'm going to come to the gym, work out, look after my health there, get strong and take care of some of the fundamental concept or fundamental aspects of longevity, like your VO2 max, you're going to work on your aerobic fitness, grip strength, leg strength, foot speed, balance, just positional awareness of your body in time and space. If you can get a grasp of those things, it's going to increase your chances of longevity and quality of life later on into life. Um, and if you can do all of that at the same time as balancing and taking care of your lifestyle and not living like a piece of trash where you're not sleeping right. I'm sorry, but it is though, isn't it? Like if you're not what you're essentially saying is if my lifestyle isn't great, I'm not looking after myself. I don't value myself. I'm not important and I don't care. And it shows on the outside. If you're under recovered, if you've not been sleeping, if you've not been eating well, if you've been drinking alcohol, taking drugs, whatever it is, out partying, staying up till late, like all that kind of stuff. And even just like not being out in nature, not de-stressing, not calming yourself, and not being, in positive relationships, it all has a knock-on effect. You're going to be less useful as a person, less exciting and energetic to be around. So you've got to take care of the lifestyle side and the health side. The big factor that you alluded to earlier as well was the aesthetic side and just, wanting to look good, which is probably what sparks most people in the first place. Like looking good probably comes before health as a forefront of their mind because it's what you see every day. It's what it's your overall experience. It's how you look at yourself. And it can be very, very obvious. Whereas sometimes health, the issues can be very much hidden under the hood. And, we all talk about underlying health issues, the percentage of the population that is ridiculously close to being diabetic, if not already diabetic. Like just as an example, this morning when I was in the gym, I was coaching someone and really, really good lad. And he's like in the CrossFit class, they were snatching and he's not very well versed in the whole gym and training side of things yet. Fairly competent, but not like knowledgeable to the part where he could be autonomous. So he said, "Oh, what's all this about?" and started motioning with the snatch. And I'd not seen what they were doing in the workout, but he started motioning it. I was like, "What, snatching?" He was like, "Yeah, what's that all about? Is this that functional stuff?" I was like, "Well, is it functional? Are you an Olympic weightlifter?" He went, "No." I went, "Not really." He went, "Oh, right, okay. Well, I get abs if I do that." And I was like, "Well, would you get abs? I mean, if you did enough of it, yeah, it wouldn't. It might help, but that depends. Are you going to sort your diet out?" And then someone else just chirped up laughing. He was like, just burst in and was just like, "Yeah, sort your fucking life out." And yeah, we had a little chuckle at that. But like again, like the forefront of the thought was like, will that help me get abs? Will that help me look better? Not will I feel great? Will my shoulders be, you know, will my shoulders feel good? Will they be in good health? Will they be strong? Will they be mobile and able to do everything that a shoulder needs to do? Um, and I think that's the kind of the thing that you have to take care of and hit and address to a degree at the start of every training program with everyone who's new to it. Um, and just take care of that kind of aesthetic aspect where it's, what we do here in the gym, you'll build muscle, get strong, work on your energy systems. Outside of this place is where you actually get fitter, healthier, leaner, better looking, and in better shape because your recovery is the number one method to doing that. But we have to stress the body the right way first. That's what we do here. This is the place of pain. This is the house of pain. Away you go into your relative comfort, recover, and then come back and we'll push you even harder again next time. That's more or less the way it should work. And people, I think,
Yeah.
see it that way.
I actually think that might be the single most important piece of information that people going into a gym environment should be told. Like that, there's no curriculum. Like people, it's not like you walk into a gym and the gym will go, okay, this is what health and fitness should look like. And if they do that, I guarantee people don't fucking read it. Like most people won't read it. But actually, that is the truth. Like, how many times do you have someone go to the gym and they might be training for aesthetics, which is where most people start, and that's where I started. But they'll go about it in the way they think they should go about it, which is whatever they've been exposed to, and they'll do something that is just the total fucking opposite of what they need to be doing, and they'll waste that time in the gym, and then they'll think, right, okay, these exercises don't work, or this thing doesn't work. When in actual fact, the exercises do work. The way you've done them might not work. The load that you've used might not work. The way you're performing it, your execution, your technique might not work, or the order that you've done the workout in. Like at the end of the day, most workouts are just a list of fucking exercises. And, you know, if you're actually utilizing your time properly in the gym, whether it's a good workout or not, if, sorry, I mean that the opposite way. If you're doing what you need to be doing outside of the gym, whether your workout was good or not, whether you put in 100% or not, and the exercise order was correct or not, like you're going to feel and look a lot better because the reality is you spend some people maybe 5 to 7 hours in the gym a week. Think about how much time you spend outside of that. Like if you're on it when you're outside of the gym, you're going to look, perform, and feel way better. You need to maximize the time that you spend in the gym by being as efficient as possible as possible in there.
Have you personally seen much change in gym environments as well since you started? It's like I talked about Ash Grossman with this in the podcast that I recorded with him. And I might have mentioned it, we might have mentioned it a few times anyway, but just the general layout and the setup that most gyms have now, from what I remember as being very much weights area, dumbbell area, big cardio area where we're just going to stack it with fucking treadmills. And it's like, well, why are you putting like for real, right? Why would you go to a gym to get on a treadmill? Why not just go outside for a run?
Yeah, that and that ties in. So I had this conversation with one of my clients last week actually, and I nearly cried when she told me. But she was saying this gym needs so obviously at ProFit, our setup's slightly different to well, it's very different to a commercial gym, but there's no treadmills there. She said, "What? That's the only thing this place is missing, some treadmills." I was like, "Why do you need a treadmill?" She goes, "Because then I could just like get my steps in, and I could watch something while I'm doing it." And I nearly threw up. I was like, "What? Why could you not? Why could you not just walk outside?" And she's like, "I can't watch anything then." Well, why the fuck do you want to watch something? You either want to go for a walk or you don't. Why are you trying to get steps in? Like, so I can hit my steps. Okay, so why are you trying to hit your steps? So I can lose weight. So go to the fucking gym and do a workout that's going to be way better for you for that reason. People go into the gym, they go, oh, treadmill, that's how I'll lose weight. No, it's fucking not
Yeah.
at all. You stupid,
But
non-science-based trainee.
I think this is one of those things where it's people kind of like obviously screen time is now a big thing like with regards to like phone, iPads, all that kind of stuff. It pops up every night, says like, oh, you've averaged whatever screen time over the past week or whatever. And I think that's something where people kind of just need to be unplugged, like get away from it because in terms of cleansing yourself, mental sanity, like I I mean, for me, getting the dog, having the dog, having Axel around, being able to take him for a walk and just being with him and being outside with no other distractions, no podcasts, no audio books, no TV, no screens, like staying off social media with it, with the messages, like no messages, nothing to bother you. It is genuinely really relaxing and refreshing and 100% needed, especially where everyone's always plugged in. You're always reachable. Anyone can get to you. Anyone can send you a message, tweet you, do whatever, and it just gets irritating. And I think that's one of the biggest things you can do is just get unplugged, If you want to get your steps in, go outside for a walk. If you want to go for a run, go outside for a run. If you want to add it into your workout and you're in a gym, if you've ideally, and I think most places now that are setting up kind of have this space, and this is where I've noticed a big change come in, where most places now have more space. And previously, that was what used to actually frighten people, I think, because they didn't know what to do with it. It was like, oh my God, what do I do? And gyms just thought, do you know what? Just put equipment in there. Let's just stack it with some machines, put some isolation machines in there. And that's not the way that people, I think, want to train anymore. People are starting to wake up to more, I need to do full body movements rather than just isolate my quads or my biceps or other insanely small muscles in the shoulders to do something. Just think about the bigger picture and broaden it out. So like even JD gyms, JD opening their gyms, they've got like the big cages now with like the turfed area inside. It looks like a mini football pitch. Like that sort of stuff is absolutely mint. Perfect. And for me and the athletes that I work with, that's 100% what I want. I want more of that, more space in gyms.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually find that they're a little bit tighter packed. And I think what one of the problems that you've got with gyms is not always, by the way, but for a lot of, well, if it's a commercial gym or it's a chain gym, you're going to find that it's kitted out and set out the way that it needs to be kitted out and set out to have people pay their fee to join and be satisfied enough with it to pay the money to be there.
Mhm.
Like, and that's it. Like it's not about, okay, how do we set this up so people can get the best workout or the best use of their time? Like, because they don't need to worry about that. Because as long as you're paying the money, like they're sorted. So I do think that a lot of them are better. I think some of them are still very much set in the old school, like there's still treadmills and cross trainers and like rows and rows of cardio kit. But I do see what they've done is to temper that is they've introduced kind of like you said about the cages at JD. I've seen these big it's not a power rig, but it's basically got like it's a functional rig that you could operate a class around, and there's loads of different things on it, maybe a rope hanging from it and stuff like that. One of the things that I was thinking when you were saying there is like I'm always wary nowadays when you were saying about go out for a walk and be unplugged, is I remember reading that your brain is basically a supercomputer and you're always like updating your programming. And one of the things that I think nowadays is people are training their mind to well, not deliberately, not out of choice, but pay attention for like 10 to 15 seconds, if that, and then they're on something else. And one of the things that I keep hearing a lot at the minute is people saying about like, I'm a visual learner. I need to see something to learn it. And then they say about all they ever do when they go home is watch videos on YouTube or play video games or watch films. It's like, are you a visual learner or have you just done nothing but consume visual stuff for the last 10 years? Like you've trained yourself that way. It's not it, correlation causation. It's you've that's all you've been exposed to. So that's now all that helps you focus.
And
It makes
I
it a lot.
think an alarming percentage of the population have got ADHD now, or has certainly been diagnosed with it. And I just think who hasn't got ADHD or some symptoms of it?
Yeah.
Like it's just normal for humans to behave in a certain way, and I think it is definitely being interfered with more and more and more by this 100% accessibility to the internet, social media, and people who you don't necessarily know or care about having an impact on your life. It's weird. Um, so yeah, I think for me, like when it comes down to functional training, we'll just dial it back into that again. Focus on the main movement patterns. You'd be looking at squat, hinge, push, pull, brace. I would say also bounce because I want my athletes bouncy. I want you to be bouncy and fast. That's another factor. And I think there are like a lot of multi-directional concepts that need to be included in each of those things as well. Um, Without necessarily getting too complicated, obviously life comes at you pretty quick. There's always random things, especially in a sporting environment. You can kind of get contorted into different positions and still have to perform and be able to throw, jump, run, change direction, accelerate, decelerate with different cues, different demands. And I think you were mentioning to me before we actually came onto this podcast about some CrossFitters that were doing some particularly um I would say out there type training. Do you want to kind of go into that and explain what that was?
Yeah, so for anyone who's aware of CrossFit, like the top of CrossFit is CrossFit Games. And if you ever want to go anywhere as a CrossFit athlete in the UK, the team that people generally veer towards, or the coaches that people veer towards, are called JST programming. And they were doing some pretty wacky blocks and phases of training last season, I believe it was that I saw it, where they were deliberately training suboptimal or fatigue imposed positions. So, for example, deliberately rounding their backs on deadlifts or cleans and things like that, based on the idea that in a competition, when you're trying to race, you are not always going to make every rep look perfect. And to get through it as fast as possible, sometimes that isn't the case. And when you're tired, you can be dragged into specific positions anyway. So they were essentially doing a training block of working those positions that you would fall into under fatigue.
But then we were saying, well, if you're doing a workout, you're going to get exposed to that level of fatigue anyway. So why does it even make sense to practice in that compromised position as such?
Yeah.
To me, I just see it as a little bit of a mm, not necessarily a waste of time, but I would just say a little bit unnecessary. And then we did actually say that if you were doing that as a little bit of a novelty thing, that is fair enough because I would genuinely say sometimes in training, changing up your workouts and doing random things or doing things in a different manner just to avoid boredom, tedium, repetition of the same things over and over and over is a useful strategy at times. In the same way that some occasionally just doing a workout because it is exceptionally hard can also be useful. Like in terms of whether you want to say it will give you a bit of confidence, knowing that you've worked hard makes you feel good. Um, Whether you want to talk about building mental resilience or having the ability to dig deep when you feel like trash, all that stuff can be useful. So you might as well bring it all in, back it all up. I think one of the points I was going to make earlier as well, actually, with regards to the gym space, and this is the same for most people with their training and the way, like especially the way that a lot of coaches seem to run their teams, their practice sessions, their training sessions in the gym, and it's the whole idea that more is better. And from the standpoint of performance, it's not better. More is just more. That's all it is. It's more. Less is more. Less is more useful. Less is better. Minimal effective dose should be what we're aiming for. If we can get away with just doing 3 sets of six, why would you go and do six? If there is going to be a minimal gain by doing an extra 3 sets, doubling your time on that exercise, why would you go and do it? I will just kind of point out that for any of my clients that are listening, I know I have people doing 8 sets of two or three or stuff like that. I have them doing some crazy numbers of sets, but their general workouts are a lot shorter and they might only have 2 or 3 exercises. But those sets will also increase and accumulate just for more exposure to volume over a course of like 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, and then it'll drop again and it'll come back down to lower level numbers. So it's just to expose them a bit more to that stimulus. But the fundamental point goes is just why would you do more? Why
Yeah,
do
and I think you nailed it with that last part that you said there as well. Like it's the exposure to the stimulus. If you're a new person training, you need to be exposed to the correct, well, anyone training needs to be exposed to the correct stimulus. But if you're doing a new movement, for example, then you want to learn it as well. So exposure does help. However, when you fatigue, that stimulus might now change because what was originally fatiguing you might be something different now. And now, therefore, you are not getting necessarily stimulus that you were looking for. It might be that you've not recovered enough and you were trying to, I don't know, train your, I don't know, legs, and now your lungs are giving out. And therefore, it's just junk volume now. You are just overloading yourself with something that's not even actually giving you what you really need.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think what we will do actually just to wrap this up for today, so like expand on any of these points that you want, Chris. Um, I just wrote down kind of like a couple of headlines. We've got five headlines here in terms of functional fitness. So number one, what is functional fitness? I generally see that as training in a manner that is going to be useful to you. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's running, aerobic capacity, strength training, performing specific movements that are going to benefit you in a sports performance context. And again, each of these subheadings actually benefit you in a manner that is going to contribute towards injury prevention, recovery, rehabilitation, um, or sports performance, whether it's increasing speed, ability to decelerate, accelerate, change direction, run faster, jump higher, all those kinds of things. You want to be doing things which are going to be useful and contribute towards that. Again, aspects of your life beyond the gym. So I think, I mean, back when I was training a lot more general population clients, it was, well, you've got a kid, you're probably going to carry it in an awkward manner like this. So we'll practice getting stronger in that position. And also, for the sake of balance, if you're always holding your kid in your right arm, let's hold something heavy in your left arm on the odd occasion. Let's really focus on your grip strength. Like imagine you're carrying your shopping into the house or you're carrying your suitcase on holiday. Although they've all got wheels now, same thing. Um, like let's do things that are actually going to enhance and improve your life on a day-to-day basis. Like 12-inch box step up. What kind of height are the stairs in your house? Probably about 12 inches from step to step. Okay, well, let's get strong at going up and down stairs then. If you're getting towards the point where, your knees are a bit creaky and your legs aren't as strong as they used to be, let's wake it up a little bit. Let's fucking go. Like, you want to stay living in the same house or do you want a bungalow? Let's get a bit stronger before you sell up. So let's do things that are actually going to benefit you away from the gym as well. And then the last one in terms of, I would say mobility and just general movement and control, being able to be stable, strong, control movements. I mentioned with regards to sports performance, decelerating, being able to decelerate as you sit down onto a chair rather than just fall in the chair every single time. Like I think most people in the room would be grateful for if you could sit down in a graceful manner as opposed to just snapping the chair or snapping the stool. So to me, that's what I would kind of go for as being functional training. Um, I'm trying to think if I would actually add anything more to that, but I think it pretty much covers it.
Yeah, I feel like you nailed it even with just the first part. And I think it's interesting because when you say about the fitness industry changing, one of the things that we did notice was the introduction of functional training. Generally, the functional trainers were doing anything but functional things. It would just be wacky, crazy shit on strange pieces of equipment whilst balancing on a Bosu ball or something like that, which was the total opposite. So I think functionality differs based on you and based on your lifestyle. But by extension of that, you could argue that absolutely everything that you do is functional in the fact that it will help you in some way, assuming you're not just twatting yourself on the head with a hammer. But hey ho, you get used to being hit on the head with a hammer. So technically, could help you long term. You never know.
I would, if I really wrap it up with this, I would say it's a whole system integrated approach based on the needs of the individual using science-based methodology.
Ah, love it.
How's that?
Love it. Be
Not a
careful. Be careful.
um yeah, I think that pretty much sees us off for today. I can't remember whether I was going to make another point or not. Um no, I'm fairly happy. We'll leave it there. Leave it there.
Roger
So
that.
Thanks for listening, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you now have a clear idea and understanding of functional fitness, functional training. You don't have to be doing anything stupid for the sake of it. If it looks a bit daft, it probably is, but you need to understand how things are going to work for you and why you should be doing them in the first place. So, again, if you're struggling with what to do, come and ask us for questions. Come and ask us. Like, we'll give you some guidance. If you want to jump on any of our programming, we can certainly help you out with that. Just drop us a message and we will do our very, very best to provide all the understanding you could possibly need to help you advance your training. Chris, any final thoughts or words of wisdom?
Don't eat yellow snow.
Good advice coming up to winter. Good advice. I am going to go off and get some functional food now. So I will catch you later. And once again, guys, thank you very much for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure. We will see you again very, very soon. Lenko out.